Hello there everybody, and thank you for clicking on this video. Basically, some of you may have seen that I released a Christmas video on Christmas Day. The idea was to do 5 video games that got me into gaming when I was younger. I wrote the video, I made the video, it took me a really long time and I was really proud with it in the end. I even watched it back straight after I'd rendered it. But after uploading it to YouTube and watching it again a few days later, I don't know, it just didn't feel the same. Everything felt a little bit sloppy, the jokes were there, but some of them were kind of missing. I don't know, it just didn't feel right. I didn't enjoy watching it back. So because of that reason, I took it down. I only want to upload the best content I can. I tried going through and making a few fixes to see if it would ultimately fix the video, but I don't know, it still just didn't feel right. So what I'm going to do today is compress what was a half-an-hour video down into about 5 or 10 minutes, because I still want to make the points I was making in the video because they're still valid. I can only hope you'll take this video as a form of an apology. Maybe an epic Christmas video was a bit too much of an undertaking for someone as amateur as me. I've only made 4 or 5 videos up to this point, and I do try and make the best content I can with what I've got. But I'm going to keep making videos, I'm going to keep practicing, keep editing, get better and better, and hopefully next Christmas I'm going to make a really, really awesome video for you guys. But for now,
Paris in the fall, the last months of the year and the end of the millennium. The city holds many memories for me.
So I love point-and-click games. To me, it gives the developers an excuse to put more effort into art styles, scripts, backgrounds, and storyline. It also forces them to work on character design. Unlike most games, you don't instantly judge a character on whether they're good or bad because of their appearance. In games like this, generally everybody looks like a human being, so you have to judge their character by, well, their character. I really love this, and I love the art style that a lot of point-and-click games use as well. It's really colourful, really pretty, and because there's not usually a lot going on, it has to keep your attention. All these things thrown together are why I absolutely adore Broken Sword 1. I used to watch my dad playing this game when I was a kid. I'd watch, enjoy, laugh at the jokes, and sometimes try and give him some hints. Obviously he'd already tried whatever I'd said. He's not a fucking idiot.
He looked at me as if I'd farted at a funeral.
One outstanding feature of Broken Sword that I really like is how it took the verb system away and used a simple right-click does one thing, left-click does everything else sort of feature. I really like that. On top of all that, you've got George Stobart, who is just, well, he's a fucking legend. He's so funny, he's so clever. You get to know him throughout the story, and it's just brilliant. The main thing I love about point-and-click games is how the main character has to be lovable. I mean, you've got to spend hours and hours with this guy pointing and clicking on all sorts of stuff, and he explains everything to you firsthand as well, so if you don't like him, you're going to get sick of him pretty damn quick. This obviously never happened with George Yes, because he's a pure ledge. So that's my compressed rundown of Broken Sword, why I love it, and why it made me love gaming. On to the next one. Is there anything I can say about Street Fighter 2 that hasn't already been said? It's the perfect fighting game. If I had friends, I would have played with them non-stop, but I don't have any friends. Instead, I clawed my way through the cast of Misfits alone and celebrated beating M. Bison by walking through a dark alleyway wearing, well, nothing but a layer of baby oil and a readied anus. It's a really simple game to play, but really hard to master. When you look at games like Mortal Kombat X being played online nowadays, it's like, it's seriously pro, you know what I mean? Whereas this game, anyone can pick it up, anyone can play, and everyone's still going to have a good time. I've played the game several times in the past, and my girlfriend had never played it once, but what happened? We both picked up the controller, and she fucked my ass. And by that I mean she beat me at Street Fighter, not she put the controller in, you know. This game doesn't have to be clever, it doesn't have to have a storyline, just like all fighting games, it just has to be fun. And it is. You can literally sit here playing round after round after round and never get bored of this game. It's just perfect. Considering it's, fuck, what, my age? It's done really well for itself and still holds up today. Okay, so Command & Conquer is probably the game I've played the least out of all the games on this list, but it really did make a big impact on me when I did play it. Every mission is introduced by some FMV, which is laughable at best. It's almost as if every actor is pretending that it was their first ever acting job.
So, you're the new addition to the Brotherhood. Well, I'm Seth. Just Seth. From God to Cain to Seth. I am his right hand, and I have a task for you. This is Nakumba, and he is causing the Brotherhood much grief. His views do not coincide with ours, and that makes him dangerous. Silence him.
So yeah, sticking with the theme on this list, Command & Conquer was something I used to play with my dad as a kid. We used to play at LAN with 2 PlayStations, 2 TVs, 2 copies of the game, and a fuck ton of wires. That's what this sketch was about. This is a little clip from the original there. It definitely wasn't the first real-time strategy game I played, but it was one that was simple enough for everyone to have a go at, and I did really enjoy it. I got quite far into the game, even though it was really difficult. You know, you were getting swarmed by guys within seconds of starting the mission. But you know, it was good fun. Good fun. Good fun! The reason Command & Conquer is on this list is because it really made me appreciate what real-time strategy games could offer when they weren't fucking ridiculously hard. It simplified things right down to just a couple of buildings and a couple of character classes. No, it didn't do that, Ryan. It simplified things right down with a handful of different buildings and a handful of different units and vehicles to build. I definitely wouldn't say it was lacking in variety, but you did tend to know what everything on the screen was. Unlike, let's say, Supreme Commander. So yeah, this game puts me in a nice place when I think about it. Simple as that. Nostalgia. Okay, so the 4th game on my list is an obscure little gem called Little Big Adventure. Now this is a game that when I mention to people, their eyes glaze over. I really don't know a lot of people who've even heard of this game, never mind played it. It's just one of those things that slipped through the cracks of obscurity, I guess. It's another one that I used to play with my dad. He would mainly take the controls. It was quite a difficult game as well. I'm not sure if we ever finished it, even the pair of us. It's a really long game. It's a very difficult game. There's a lot of objects and stuff like that. The story seems pretty simple. You're just trying to rescue your bitch while stopping some ring piece from going all 1984 on your planet. But I rarely knew where I was going, who I was talking to, what the objects that I was picking up did. The world map's this like globe, which is really kind of not very helpful at all. But anyway, it's easier if I just show you. Those niggles aside, the game was so ahead of its time if you ask me. The game was pretty big, the combat was fun, if not a bit silly, and the graphics were so sharp you could use them to cut words into your thighs. Ahead of all that though, the music was probably the main thing that I really loved about this game. It's just so nostalgic to me and it's just so pretty. Like literally, just listen to this for a few seconds. I know, right? I could listen to that all day. But the game really was an adventure, and the fact that you never really knew what was going on around you as you moved through the different locales only added to the immersion. And probably one of my most favourite things about the game is like the crazy characters you meet. There are some real oddballs in here.
I can't help you, except perhaps, considering the risks you have taken, I guess I can trust you. I was arrested on this island, but earlier on I gave a fake red card to my brother, who was living on Proxima Island. He will give it to you if you say Amos to him.
So I might have said the general plot of this game was simple, but the further you get into the game it becomes more and more complex. The storyline is totally fucked up. I mean, yeah, the general story is there's a bad guy, you're trying to save the girl, but the actual plot, I mean, fuck, just look at the Wikipedia entry. Exactly. So basically, the further into the game you get, the weirder it gets. For example, at the end, you literally float off into space and turn into some ethereal spirit and fly around your planet fixing it with your super sparkly jizz cannon. I'm not even joking. Here, let me sum up the ending scene for you. Hashtag spoilers.
Return now to the surface. You can now erase the final traces that he left there.
So they fly around a bit, make all the ugly things look pretty again, drop down on their planet, have some food, rock out with the band, and then it's the obligatory credit sequence. So even though the game is very long and really fucking difficult, it's on this list because it gave me a glimpse into the wonderful world of adventure games and non-linear gameplay. It was all very new to me and I loved what I played of it. I never finished it though. It was far too long and hard. Like my dick. So, Doom. Honestly, the original Doom could have made it on this list, but I spent a lot more time playing Doom 2 as a kid. Simple as that, really. Probably not the best way to enrich my brain as a child, but I haven't killed anyone yet. I'm not going to go on about Doom 2 much because you all know about it, and if you don't, then you obviously touch kids. The original was a groundbreaking game that really brought first-person shooters into the limelight. Yes, I know it wasn't the first, but I feel it was the most significant. As exciting as that sounds, the game itself was actually very simple. They got rid of any real storyline because it got in the way of everyone's demon slaying fun. I'm sure it was John Carmack who said, story in a game's like story in porn. It's expected to be there, but it's not that important. Now at the time I totally agree with this. They were more interested in building a genre-defining game than they were about story. I mean, did anybody really care what Doom Guy's real name is or whether or not he went to church? And in this context, it absolutely works. I mean, Doom has virtually no story, but it's still an epic game. But I don't think that format would cut the mustard these days. Today's gamers like a bit of story and theatrics in their games. Well, unless you play COD or FIFA. Also, if you try to quit the game, the developers throw little digs at you to make you feel bad. Things such as, do you really want to quit this great game? Just leave. When you come back, I'll be waiting with a bat. And, look bud, you leave now and you forfeit your body count. So Doom 2 really made it onto this list because it was my first FPS experience, really, and I loved it. It was atmospheric enough to be scary, but not so much that I was too frightened to play it. Well, until those Capo demons showed up, I mean, seriously, the fuck is that? So who wants to see me take on the first mission on Nightmare difficulty with a control setup where I can't actually strafe without moving my hand onto a different part of the keyboard? And also I can run with my mouse. Yeah, it looks pretty ridiculous. So, here we go, motherfucker. Well, that was 5 games that really got me into gaming. Like I said, they weren't the best games I've ever played. They were just games that had a really huge impact on me when I was a kid, and I thank those games for like really getting me into gaming. I mean, if it wasn't for those games, gaming might never have become such a big part of my life, and I might have ended up as a vegan or something. So if anything, please see this video as my show of recognition and gratitude for these games and for what they've done for me. There was one more game I really wanted to add to this list. Not only was it a huge part of my childhood, but it's possibly one of my most favourite games ever made, if not my most favourite game. But basically, I felt it deserved more than a couple of minutes talking about it. I feel like it really deserves its own episode. I'd love to do it as something like a 1,000 subscriber special or something like that, so fingers crossed that I get that far and I get to talk about this game. But for now... So I'm afraid that's all I've got time for today. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe and come and see me on my next video, or I might hurt myself and then it'll be your fault. Merry Christmas. I just want to thank you again for watching my video, and I'd love to know in the comments what games got you into video gaming when you were young. So the second end read, oh, fuck, it's not right. A little bit better. Shit, man. I love point and kick. Fuck. It's oh shit. Its own episode. Fuck. Please like, subscribe. Oh, fuck. So that's. And not only was it. Oh shit. With nothing. Oh, fuck. Obscure little title. Dolphin, you are defeated! It's pretty hard to decide which is the good side, which is the bad side with this game. Fuck. It did seem a little bit overly complicated. Not overly complicated. You know, fuck. Through a dark alleyway. Fuck.